We have a tight race at the front between Wecht, Tim Kamen 704, and Suzanne Greenberg. The competition is fierce as they battle for the lead on the track. Tim Kamen 704 takes the lead from Wecht. Waldy advances to 15th, passing Sist 3M. Amy climbs to 23rd, surpassing MYST 149. MYST 149 is struggling, dropping 14 positions to P38. Super LaCroix advances to P3, passing Suzanne Greenberg. Gary Z and Hugert 03 are engaged in a battle for P5. Suzanne Greenberg now in second place, passing Wecht. Hugert 03 and Rizaldi Adar fighting for 6th place. Smurf 20 advancing to 8th place, overtaking Kinch Evel. Tim Kamen 704 is really showing some impressive speed out there, leading the pack with Suzanne Greenberg hot on their tail. And Wecht is not far behind, making for an exciting top 3 in this race. Suzanne Greenberg has claimed the top spot, passing Tim Kamen 704 in a tight race. Suzanne Greenberg is behind the wheel of a rough RGT8, while Tim Kamen 704 is piloting an Aston Martin Vantage AMR. Smurf 20 has advanced to 7th place by overtaking Hugert 03. Wecht skillfully secures the 2nd position, passing Tim Kamen 704 in their Aston Martin Vantage 18. A fierce duel is heating up between them. Meanwhile, Super LaCroix climbs to 4th place after overtaking Gary Z. Wecht and Tim Kamen 704 are fighting for the 2nd position in their Aston Martin Vantage cars. Kinch Evel in a Ford GTX1 and Okayaki 3 in a McLaren F1 GT are neck and neck for 11th place. Meanwhile, Waldy has advanced to 15th place after passing Apex. Suzanne Greenberg and Wecht are fiercely competing for the top spot in their rough RGT8 and Aston Martin Vantage 18 respectively. Super LaCroix has climbed to 3rd place, surpassing Tim Kamen 704. Rizaldi Adar has made a move to 5th place, leaving Smurf 20 behind. Wecht has taken the lead from Suzanne Greenberg. Gary Z has climbed to 5th place, surpassing Rizaldi Adar. Hugert 03 and Babardo are fiercely competing for 8th place. Suzanne Greenberg in the rough RGT8 and Super LaCroix in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 are neck and neck for P2. Hugert 03 and Babardo are fiercely fighting for P8. Bakioki 8 and Apex are locked in a battle for P14. Each position is crucial as the race progresses. Tim Kamen 704 now in 2nd place after passing Super LaCroix. Smurf 20 and Hugert 03 fighting it out for 7th position. Kinch Evel and Okayaki 3 battling for 11th place on the track. It looks like the current standings might be a bit surprising. That's racing for you. Anything can happen on the track. Suzanne Greenberg is now in P28 after dropping 18 positions. Metz 32 slid back to P30, falling 9 spots. Gary Z and Rizaldi Adar are fiercely battling for position 4. Suzanne Greenberg is making big gains on Corner Billy, closing the gap by 12.1. Smurf 20 and Hugert 03 are neck and neck in the fight for 6th place, with Smurf20 in a Shelby GT500 Super Snake 13 and Hugard03 in a McLaren F1 GT. Kinch Evel and Syst3M are battling it out for the 11th position, with Kinch Evel in a Ford GTX1 and Syst3M in a McLaren F1 GT. Simple Markers is now at P33 after dropping 9 positions. Waldy is struggling too, falling back to P34 after losing 12 positions. Smurf20 from Team for 20 and Hugard03 are fiercely fighting for the 6th spot, with a Shelby GT500 Super Snake 13 against a McLaren F1 GT. Dreadstream is now in P32 after losing 12 positions. Hugard03 has advanced to P6, passing Babardo. Babardo has climbed to P7, surpassing Smurf20. Mets32 is making gains on Waldy, reducing the gap by a significant 590.3 units. Meanwhile, Hugard03 and Babardo are fiercely contesting the 6th position, with Babardo from Team Blast now in a tight duel with Smurf20 for 7th place. The McLaren F1 GT and the Shelby GT500 Super Snake 13 are going head-to-head in this exciting race. Babardo is facing challenges, dropping down to P19. Gary Z is making a move up to P3, surpassing Tinkamen 704. It's a fierce battle for 3rd place between Gary Z driving a McLaren F1 GT and Tinkamen 704 in an Aston Martin Vantage AMR. Babardo is facing some challenges, dropping a significant 12 positions down to P31. Super LaCroix is making gains on White, closing in by 2.4 seconds. Excitingly, Tinkamen 704 has climbed up to 3rd place, successfully passing Gary Z. Corner Billy is gaining on Babardo, narrowing the gap by 500.3 units. Gary Z has advanced to 3rd place, surpassing Hugard03. Hugard03 has climbed to 4th place, passing Tinkamen 704. Tinkamen 704 in the Aston Martin Vantage AMR is dueling with Rizaldi Adar in the McLaren F1 GT for 5th place. Meanwhile, Rizaldi Adar is also locked in a tight battle with Okayaki 3 for 6th place. Further back, Todor Gardner has made gains, climbing up to 12th position after overtaking Kinch Evel. Corner Billy is putting on quite a performance, catching up to Babardo by 58.2 units. Okayaki 3 is making moves, now in P6 after overtaking Rizaldi Adar. It looks like Okayaki 3 and Rizaldi Adar are locked in a tight battle for P6. Apex climbs to 13th, passing Todor Gardner. O'Kraken advances to 15th, overtaking Buchazero. O'Kraken in the McLaren F1 GT and Buchazero from Team Quarkspress in the Rough RGT 8 are fiercely contesting the 15th spot. Twix 560 in the McLaren F1 GT is currently fighting Kinch Evel in the Ford GTX1 for the 11th position. Zygote 22 in the Suzette Marauder V16T and Neotexum in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 are battling it out fiercely for the 26th spot. Corner Billy is making gains, closing in on Suzanne Greenberg by 12.7 units. Okayaki 3 and Rizaldi Adar are currently fighting for the 6th position. Todor Gardner has moved up to 12th place, overtaking Twix 560. Super LaCroix has taken the lead from Wacht, securing P1. Hugert03 is gaining on Gary Z, reducing the gap by 2.2. Tadar Gardner climbs to P11 after overtaking Apex. Suzanne Greenberg is gaining on Babardo, reducing the gap by 554.8 units. Wacht has surged to the top spot, passing Super LaCroix. Wacht and Super LaCroix are now locked in a battle for first place. Kinch-Evel is struggling, dropping back to 28th position. Rizaldi Adar has made a move up to 6th place, passing Tenkamen in 7:04. Sist 3M and Todd R. Gardner are currently fighting for the 10th position. Todd R. Gardner has advanced to 10th place, passing Sist 3M. They are now engaged in a heated battle for that position. Twix 560 has also made progress, moving up to 12th after overtaking Apex. Metz 32 is really putting the pressure on Corner Billy, narrowing the gap by 10.3. Smurf 20 and Todd R. Gardner are locked in a fierce fight for 8th place, with different beasts under their hoods. Meanwhile, Twix 560 and Apex are battling it out for the 12th spot in an intense duel of McLaren versus Dodge Challenger. Corner Billy is making strides, narrowing the distance to Kinch-Evel by 600.0 units. O'Craken has advanced to P14, overtaking Bucha Zero. The McLaren F1 GT driven by O'Craken and the Rough RGT 8 driven by Bucha Zero are now in a competitive duel for the 14th position. Rizaldi Adar makes a strong move, securing the 5th position by passing Okayaki 3. The battle intensifies between Racing Potatoes teammates as they compete for P5. On the other hand, Sist 3M advances to 10th place after overtaking Todd R. Gardner. Hugert03 has advanced to P3, surpassing Gary Z. Hugert03 and Gary Z are now fighting for P3. Rizaldi Adar and Okayaki 3 are currently battling for P5. Super LaCroix has taken the lead, passing Wacht for first place. Gary Z and Hugert03 are fighting it out for 3rd position. Rizaldi Adar is making gains on Hugert03, reducing the gap by 2.2 seconds. Metz 32 is on the hunt, closing the gap to Suzanne Greenberg by a whopping 532.9 units. Gary Z from Team No Name Racing has surged to P3, surpassing Hugert03. Smurf 20 and Twix 560 are currently locked in a fierce duel for P11, with Smurf 20 in a Shelby GT 500 Super Snake 13 and Twix 560 in a McLaren F1 GT. Demon Zero LF said, Car. Hey Demon Zero LF, welcome to the stream. We are currently watching AI-controlled cars race on a simulator at the Atlanta Motor Speedway track. Feel free to choose a car by typing race followed by the number of the car you'd like to pick for your AI driver. If you have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to say hey Amy. Enjoy the race. Metz 32 continues to impress, closing in on Suzanne Greenberg with a 7.0 second reduction. Amy and Sir Iron Bot from Team Death Robots are fiercely contesting the 19th position with their Nissan 350Z and Lotus 211 respectively. The race is heating up as Metz 32 tightens the chase on Suzanne Greenberg by 7.0 seconds. Smurf 20 is closing in on Sist 3M by 5.2 units. Suzanne Greenberg is closing in on Gabardo by 496.1 units. Simple Markers is closing in on Dreadstream by 5.2 units. Suzanne Greenberg is closing in on Gabardo, cutting the gap by 56.2 units. Twix 560 advances to P11, passing Smurf 20. Suzanne Greenberg continues to narrow the distance to Gabardo by 56.2 units. Corner Billy is rapidly catching up to Simple Markers, reducing the gap by 568.2 units. Gary Z and Hugard03 are fiercely battling for third place. Rizaldi Adar has made a strong move to 6th place, surpassing Tinkaman in 7:04. Sarayanbot has made a move up to 19th place, successfully overtaking Amy in the Nissan 350Z. The battle is on between Sarayanbot and the Lotus 211 and Amy for that 19th spot. Meanwhile, there's an exciting duel for 23rd position between Newcombakum in a Lotus Evora S and Neo Texan from Team NAFH Gun Kings in a Porsche 911 996 GT3. Bakioki 8 drops to P26, losing 10 positions. Whacked and Super LaCroix are locked in a fierce battle for the lead. Gary Z from Team No Name Racing is closing in on Super LaCroix, decreasing the gap by 3.0. Bucha Zero is swiftly catching up to O'Kraken, reducing the gap by 595.9 units. Marty F2 is also making gains on Meyer, closing in by 573.3 units. Excitingly, Super LaCroix has surged to first place, surpassing Whacked in the rankings. Twix 560 making a strong move, overtaking full cars to secure P7. Martiv 2 from Team Death Robots is gaining on Meyer, shortening the distance by 16.2. Electric Mary is closing in on Zygo 22, reducing the gap by 20.8. Jessax 72 is closing in on Amy, reducing the gap by 594.8 units. Mets 32 is catching up to Suzanne Greenberg, closing the gap by 13.1 units. Twix 560 has advanced to P6, passing Hugard03. Meyer is gaining on O'Kraken, closing the gap by 6.5 seconds. Mamar Aster is rapidly catching up to One Serious Guy, closing the gap by 595.2 seconds. Tim Kamen in 7:04 and Todd R. Gardner are locked in a battle for 8th place. Tim Kamen in 7:04 in an Aston Martin Vantage AMR, and Todd R. Gardner in a McLaren F1 GT. Gabardo has significantly closed in on Apex by 587.4 units. Okayaki 3 is gaining on Gary Z, reducing the gap by 2.7 units. Hugard03 has advanced to P6, overtaking Twix 560 of Team Bolt Bucket Motorsports. Whacked is gradually catching up to Okayaki 3, reducing the gap by 3.8 seconds. Hugard03 and Twix 560 are fiercely contesting for the 6th position. Jessax 72 and Newcombakum are engaged in a close fight for the 19th spot, with Jessax 72 in a Suzette Marauder V16T and Newcombakum in a Lotus Evora S. Neo Texan advancing to P20 after surpassing Newcombakum. The Porsche 911 996 GT3 and Lotus Evora S are locked in a tight tussle for the position. Bucha Zero from Quarkspress making gains, now at P25 after overtaking Electric Mary. Suzanne Greenberg is making a swift move towards simple markers, decreasing the gap by 580.7. Jazzax 72 and Neotexum are currently vying for the 19th position. Metz 32 has progressed to 29th place after overtaking Dreadstream. Meyer is making gains on O'Kraken, narrowing the distance by 2.3 units. Martiv 2 and Sir Ironbot are neck and neck for P15, with different rides, a Porsche 911 996 GT3 and a Lotus 211 respectively. Bucha Zero is closing in on Zygo 22, reducing the gap by 3.9 lengths. Hugert 03 secures 5th place by overtaking Rizaldi Adar. They are now battling fiercely for the 5th spot. O'Kraken makes a move to 12th, leaving Smurf 20 from Team for 20 behind in the race. Rizaldi Adar and Tadar Gardner are neck and neck fighting for the 7th position. Meyer has made a move and is now in 13th place after passing Smurf 20. Sir Ironbot has also made progress and is now in 15th place after overtaking Martiv 2. Wacht has successfully overtaken Hugert 03 from NAFH Gum Kings, securing the 4th position. The Aston Martin Vantage 18 of Wacht is now closely contested by Hugert 03 in a McLaren F1 GT. Additionally, Rizaldi Adar and Tadar Gardner are engaged in a tight battle for the 7th spot. Metz 32 is making a strong move, closing in on Babardo by 51.1 units. Gary Z is gaining on Super LaCroix, narrowing the gap by 2.1 units. Hugert 03 from Team NAFH Gum Kings has climbed to P4, passing Twix 560. Wacht from Team NAFH Gum Kings has taken P4 from Hugert 03. The battle between them is heating up. Meanwhile, Rizaldi Adar has overtaken Twix 560, securing P6 in the race. Hugert 03 secures 4th place, passing Twix 560. Twix 560 advances to 5th, overtaking Wacht. Tadar Gardner climbs to 7th, surpassing Rizaldi Adar. Wacht in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 is fighting it out with Tadar Gardner in the McLaren F1 GT for 6th place. O'Kraken is making gains on Tinkamen 704, closing in by 2.6 seconds. Bucha Zero from Team Quarkspress is narrowing the distance to Newcombotham by 3.4 seconds. Hugert 03 is catching up to Okayaki 3, narrowing the gap by 2.4 units. Bucha Zero is also gaining on Newcombotham, closing in by 2.3 lengths. Gary Z from Team No Name Racing is inching closer to Super LaCroix of Team Death Robots, reducing the gap by 2.3 seconds. Wacht in an Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Rizaldi Adar in a McLaren F1 GT are currently fighting for the 8th position. O'Kraken has advanced to the 11th spot after overtaking Tinkamen 704. Suzanne Greenberg is on the move, closing in on Waldy with a 518.5 gap reduction. Gary Z has taken the lead from Super LaCroix of Team Death Robots. Exciting battle for 8th place between Wacht in an Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Rizaldi Adar in a McLaren F1 GT. Super LaCroix has surged to 1st place, surpassing Gary Z. It's a fierce duel between Super LaCroix in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Gary Z in the McLaren F1 GT. Meanwhile, Marty F2 has advanced to 13th position, passing Amy in the process. Cat TV is on fire, reducing the gap to Neo-Texan by 71.3 units. Syst 3M makes a slick move, now in 9th place after passing O'Craken. Speaking of O'Craken, they're back in the game, moving up to 10th after overtaking Rizaldi Adar. Gary Z and Okayaki 3 from Team Racing Potatoes are neck and neck in their battle for the 2nd position. Meyer has made a solid move up to the 11th spot, passing Rizaldi Adar. Smurf 20 is putting pressure on Sir Ian Bott, reducing the gap between them by 2.3 seconds. Rizaldi Adar is making a strong move on Meyer, reducing the gap by 11.0 seconds. Marty F2 is charging hard, catching up to Rizaldi Adar by closing the gap by 21.1 seconds. Gary Z has surged into 1st place, passing Super LaCroix for the lead. Wacht is impressively closing in on Todd R. Gardner, reducing the gap by 5.6 seconds. Corner Billy is making a swift move on Waldy, closing the gap by 390.0 units. Gary Z has surged to 1st place, passing Super LaCroix for the lead. Meyer has advanced to 9th place, surpassing O'Craken. Smurf 20 has climbed to 14th place, overtaking Rizaldi Adar. Cat TV is catching up to Sir Ian Bott, reducing the gap by 2.6 seconds. Super LaCroix and Okayaki 3 are fiercely fighting for the 2nd position, with Super LaCroix in an Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Okayaki 3 in a McLaren F1 GT, down in 19th place. Jasak 72 and Bucha 0 are locked in a close battle, with Jasak 72 in a Suzette Marauder V16T and Bucha 0 in a rough RGT 8. Dreadstream has made a significant move up to 29th place, passing Simple Markers in the process. Syst 3M is now only 3.4 seconds behind Wacht. Martiv 2 has advanced to 11th place, passing O'Craken. Rizaldi Adar has climbed to 13th place, overtaking Amy. Amy in the Nissan 350Z and Smurf 20 with the Shelby GT500 Super Snake 13 and neck battling for 14th position. Cat TV is making a move on Sir Ian Bott, decreasing the gap by 2.5. Electric Mary is gaining on Zygo 22, reducing the distance by 2.8. Suzanne Greenberg is narrowing the distance to Tinkanen 704 by 279.5 units. O'Craken is catching up to Martiv 2, decreasing the gap by 3.4 units. O'Craken and Rizaldi Adar are fiercely competing for 12th place. Super LaCroix and Okayaki 3 are fiercely fighting for 2nd place. Exciting battle between the Aston Martin Vantage 18 and the McLaren F1 GT. Impressive move from Wacht, now in 6th position after passing Syst 3M. Syst 3M retaliates and moves up to 7th, leaving Todd R. Gardner behind. Okayaki 3 now leading the pack, surpassing Super LaCroix for 1st place. Super LaCroix not far behind, narrowing the gap by 2.5 seconds. Great move by Meyer from Team Death Robots, advancing to 8th place by overtaking Todd R. Gardner. Corner Billy is making a strong move towards Tinkanen 704, reducing the gap by 190.3 units. Hugard 03 is steadily catching up to Gary Z, closing in by 4.0 units. Meyer is also narrowing down the distance to Syst 3M by 2.2 units. The race is heating up with these intense battles for positions. Jasax 72 is now just 5.0 seconds behind Neo Texan. Electric Mary is closing in on Zygo 22, reducing the gap to 6.5 seconds. Super LaCroix has surged to P1 by overtaking Okayaki 3. Meyer is on fire, gaining 54.5 on Gary Z. Hugard 03 has surged to second place, passing Twix 560. Meanwhile, Twix 560 has moved up to third, overtaking Wacht. Gary Z is making moves, closing the gap on Okayaki 3 by 17.2 units. Corner Billy is also on the move, catching up to Tenkamanen 704 by 133.4 units. Twix 560 has surged ahead to second place, passing Hugard 03 in the process. Wacht makes a strong move to take third place from Syst 3M. Syst 3M responds by overtaking Hugard 03 for fourth place. Meanwhile, Rizal Diadar and Smurf 20 are fiercely competing for the 12th spot with their McLaren F1 GT and Shelby GT 500 Super Snake 13 respectively. Metz 32 is making significant strides towards Mamar Aster, reducing the distance by 65.3 units. Gary Z has climbed to fourth place, surpassing Meyer. In turn, Meyer has advanced to fifth place, passing Okayaki 3 in the process. Tadar Gardner impressively climbs to ninth place, making a move past Syst 3M. O'Kraken and Rizal Diadar are fiercely contesting 11th position. Amy in a Nissan 350Z is fighting against Bucci Zero in a rough RGT, 8 for the 16th spot representing Team Quarkspress. O'Kraken is catching up to Syst 3M, cutting the gap by 50.6 units. Twix 560 of Team Boat Bucket Motorsports is closing in on Super LaCroix, narrowing the distance by 3.8 units. Tadar Gardner has advanced to P7, passing Hugard 03 in the process. Metz 32 is closing in on Electric Mary, reducing the gap by 2.6 seconds. O'Kraken and Rizal Diadar are engaged in a tight battle for the 11th position on the track. Wacht has just made an impressive move, advancing to P2 by overtaking Twix 560. Wacht has surged to the top spot, passing Super LaCroix for the lead. O'Kraken and Rizal Diadar are in a tight struggle for 11th place. Dreadstream and Simple Markers are locked in a fight for 27th position. Gary Z is steadily gaining on Twix 560, lessening the difference by 4.9 seconds. Meanwhile, Simple Markers has advanced to P27, surpassing Dreadstream in the process. Good night, one serious guy. Sleep tight and dream of victory on the racetrack. See you next time. Gary Z is now in second place after overtaking Super LaCroix. Okayaki 3 has taken over fourth place from Twix 560. Tadar Gardner has moved up to sixth place, surpassing Hugard 03. Babardo is narrowing the distance to Dreadstream by 5.5 units. Hugard03 is catching up with Super LaCroix from Team Death Robots, decreasing the gap by 3.0. Twix 560 has advanced to P7, surpassing Syst 3M in the process. Gary Z is making a swift move on Wout, reducing the gap by 5.5 seconds. Bucha Zero is also pushing hard, closing in on Meyer by 9.8 seconds. Gary Z continues to gain on Wout, narrowing the gap by another 5.5 seconds. One serious guy is making a bold move, closing in on Sir Ironbot by 50.3 units. Amy is making moves, advancing to P15, overtaking Cat TV. Cat TV is not backing down, climbing to P16, overtaking Neo Texan. Bob Z is showing some serious skill out there with No Name Racing, leading the pack, followed closely by Wacked and Okayaki 3. Will they be able to maintain their positions throughout the race? Let's see how this all unfolds on the track. Okay, folks, we've got Okioki 3 closing in on Gary Z, reducing the gap by 2.7 seconds. Twix 560 is now in 6th place after overtaking Syst 3M. Speaking of Syst 3M, they've now moved up to 7th position, passing YKCB. O'Kraken is progressively catching up to Wacked, reducing the distance by 55.9 units. Meanwhile, Bucha Zero has advanced to position 13, surpassing Amy from Team Death Robots. Cat TV is making some significant gains, narrowing the distance to Amy by 5.3 units. Okayaki 3 is now leading the pack, surpassing Super LaCroix. Super LaCroix has also made a strong move, climbing to the 2nd position by overtaking Hugard03. Newcomb is gaining on Neo Texan, reducing the gap by 7.2 seconds. Syst 3M has advanced to P6, surpassing Wacked. Wacked has climbed to P7, overtaking Gary Z. Jetsax 72 is gaining on Neo Texan from Team NAFH Gum Kings, reducing the gap by 5.4 seconds. Super LaCroix has surged to P1, passing Okayaki 3. Hugard03 is closing in on Okayaki 3, narrowing the gap by 4.8 seconds. One serious guy is rapidly catching up to Neo Texan, reducing the gap by 50.5 units. Meanwhile, Wacked is closing in on Syst 3M, shrinking the margin by 3.6. Amy has made a move up to P13, successfully overtaking Cat_TV. Wacked is really making a move on Syst 3M, narrowing the gap by 7.3 seconds. Neo Texan is also gaining ground on Jetsax 72, reducing the difference by 15.1 seconds. Exciting developments on the track as Wacked continues to close in on Syst 3M by another 7.3 seconds. O'Kraken is closing in on Wacked by 4.0 units. Meyer from Team Death Robots is reeling in Smurf 20, narrowing the gap by 4.2 units. Amy is catching up to Bucha Zero, reducing the gap by 4.0 units. O'Kraken is closing in on Wacked by 2.2 seconds. Meyer is closing in on Smurf 20 by 2.8 seconds. Sir Ironbot is closing in on Newcomb by 2.4 seconds. Rizaldi Adar is closing in on O'Craken, shrinking the gap by 2.6 seconds. Sarayanbot from Team Death Robots is catching up to Newcombakum, reducing the gap by 4.2 seconds. Simple Markers has advanced to P23, passing Dreadstream in the process. Syst 3M continues to narrow the distance to Twix 560, reducing the gap by 2.1. Rizaldi Adar has successfully climbed to P8, surpassing O'Craken. Meanwhile, Martiv 2 advances to P16, overtaking Neotexum in this competitive race. Smurf 20 is making a strong effort to catch O'Craken, reducing the gap by 7.1 seconds. Hugert 03 is also closing in on Okayaki 3 from Team Racing Potatoes, narrowing the distance by 2.8 seconds. The competition is heating up as Smurf 20 continues to close in on O'Craken with a 7.1 second decrease in the gap. Bucha Zero is inching closer to Meyer, reducing the gap by 5.9 seconds. Rizaldi Adar is catching up to Wacht, narrowing the distance by 3.5 seconds. Bucha Zero continues to close in on Meyer, shrinking the gap by 5.9 seconds. Twix 560 is now only 3.3 units away from Hugert 03. Sarayanbot is narrowing the distance to Cat TV by 4.3 units. Mets 32 has advanced to P17, surpassing Neotexum from Team NAFH Gum Kings in the process. Okayaki 3 now leads the pack after passing Super LaCroix. Hugert 03 from Team Death Robots is gaining on Super LaCroix, closing in by 3.1. Martiv 2 is also closing in on Sarayanbot, reducing the gap by 2.5. Meyer is closing in on Smurf 20, reducing the gap by 2.6 seconds. Simple Markers is gaining on Electric Mary, closing the gap by 2.8 seconds. Dreadstream is catching up to One Serious Guy, narrowing the gap by 3.2 seconds. Meyer climbs to 10th, passing Bucha Zero. Bucha Zero advances to 11th, overtaking Smurf 20. Cat TV jumps to 13th, getting ahead of Amy from Team Death Robots. Bucha Zero is now only 5.1 seconds behind Meyer. Sarayanbot has cut the gap to Amy by 14.0 seconds. Wacht is closing in on Syst 3M, now just 4.1 seconds behind. Super LaCroix has seized the lead from Okayaki 3 in an intense battle. Super LaCroix is in an Aston Martin Vantage 18, while Okayaki 3 is in a McLaren F1 GT. On the other hand, Cat_TV has made progress by overtaking Smurf 20 and now holds the 12th position. Sarayanbot is making a swift move towards Smurf 20, closing the gap by 56.0 units. Suzanne Greenberg is also on the move, narrowing the distance to Gary Z by 131.9. Corner Billy from Team Melon Mates Motorsports is putting the pressure on Todd R. Gardner, reducing the gap by 17.0 units. Meyer is making a rapid move on O'Craken, closing the gap by 7.9 units. Meanwhile, Babardo is surging towards Zygo 22, closing in by a significant 544.9. Meyer is persistent, once again narrowing the distance to O'Craken by 7.9 units. Zygote 22 is closing in on one serious guy from Team No Name Racing, reducing the gap by 7.0 seconds. Meanwhile, Martiv 2 has advanced to P14, surpassing Metz 32. Metz 32 has also made progress, moving up to P15 after overtaking Cat TV. Babardo is now just behind Zygote 22, closing the gap by 12.5 seconds. Wacht is gaining on Syst 3M, closing the gap by 2.4 seconds. Bucha Zero is closing in on Meyer, reducing the gap by 3.9 seconds. Smurf 20 is rapidly approaching Bucha Zero, reducing the gap by 555.5 units. Amy is also gaining ground on Neotexum, closing in by 4.5 units. Amy and Dreadstream are fiercely contesting the 19th spot on the track. Amy is piloting a Nissan 350Z, while Dreadstream is behind the wheel of a Ford GT40 MKII. Dreadstream has advanced to 19th place, surpassing Amy from Team Death Robots. Electric Mary in the Chevrolet Camaro ZL169 is fiercely contesting P21 with Mukumbakum in the Lotus Evora S from Team Death Robots. It's a tight duel as they navigate through the turns. Okayaki 3 is making gains on Super LaCroix, now just 2.0 seconds behind. Metz 32 has advanced to P14, passing Martiv 2 in a solid overtaking move. Neotexum in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 is locked in a tight duel with Dreadstream in the Ford GT40 MKII for the 18th position. Keep your eyes on this close contest as they navigate the track. O'Kraken continues to gain on Rizaldi Adar, cutting the distance by 3.6 units. Metz 32 advances to P13, passing Martiv 2, who in turn overtakes Sarayanbot and moves up to P14. Rizaldi Adar is swiftly closing in on Wacht, reducing the gap by 6.1 seconds. The pressure is on as O'Kraken is now catching up to Rizaldi Adar, closing the gap by 3.7 seconds. Sarayanbot slips back 6 spots to 23rd place. Wacht is making gains on Syst 3M, closing the distance by 3.4. Smurf 20 is hot on the tail of Bucha Zero from Quarkspress, reducing the gap by 5.0. Simple Marcos continues to gain ground on Martiv 2, reducing the gap by 2.9 seconds. Jasak 72 advances to P23, overtaking Sarayanbot. Babardo is making strides towards Zygote 22, closing the gap by 2.2 seconds. Okayaki 3 and Hugert 03 from Team NAFH Gumkins are fighting for the second spot. Meanwhile, Wacht in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 is going head-to-head with Rizaldi Adar in the McLaren F1 GT for 7th place. One serious guy has advanced to position 25, passing Zygote 22. Zygote 22 has climbed to position 26, surpassing Sarayanbot. Corner Billy has progressed to position 30, overtaking Gary Z. Electric Mary from Team Quarkspress and Jasak 72 are locked in a tight race for the 22nd position. Electric Mary is in a Chevrolet Camaro ZL169, while Jasak 72 is piloting a Suzette Marauder V16T. Let's see who comes out on top in this battle. Gary Z is gaining on corner Billy, closing the gap by a whopping 123.5 units. Marty F2 and Simple Markers are fiercely competing for the 14th position, with Marty F2 in a Porsche 911 996 GT3 and Simple Markers in a Ford GT40 MKII. JazzSax72 has made a move to 22nd place, successfully passing Electric Mary. Babardo is steadily gaining on Surayan Bot, reducing the gap by a substantial 357.5 units. Okayaki 3 is also making progress, closing in on Super LaCroix by 2.3 units. The fight for the 14th position is heating up between Martiv 2 in a Porsche 911 996 GT3 and Simple Markers in a Ford GT40 MKII. Simple Markers advances to 14th place, surpassing Martiv 2. Dreadstream makes progress to 16th place, passing Cat TV. Zygote 22 and One Serious Guy are fiercely competing for the 25th spot. Dreadstream is now within 2.2 seconds of Martiv 2. Amy has climbed to P18, surpassing Neotexum. Amy in a Nissan 350Z and Neotexum in a Porsche 911 996 GT3 are fiercely contesting P18. Zygote 22 now in P24 after overtaking One Serious Guy. One Serious Guy advances to P25, passing Electric Mary. Rizaldi Adar in the McLaren F1 GT is currently vying for the 7th position with Wacht in the Aston Martin Vantage 18. The competition is heating up between these two drivers as they maneuver through the track. Dreadstream is making gains on Martiv 2, tightening the distance by 2.1 units. Amy in the Nissan 350Z and Neotexum from Team NAFH Gum Kings with the Porsche 911 996 GT3 are jostling for position at P18. Dreadstream continues to gain on Martiv 2, reducing the distance by 2.3 units. Amy in the Nissan 350Z is now challenging Neotexum in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 for the 18th position. The competition between them is heating up as they navigate through the track. Suzanne Greenberg is quickly reeling in Surayan Bot, closing the gap by 168.4 units. Amy and Neotexum are currently engaged in a battle for the 18th position, with Amy in a Nissan 350Z and Neotexum in a Porsche 911 996 GT3. Rizaldi Adar in the McLaren F1 GT and Wacht in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 are dueling it out for the 7th position. Wacht in the Aston Martin Vantage 18 is fiercely contesting P7 with Rizaldi Adar in the McLaren F1 GT. The battle for this position is heating up as they navigate the twists and turns of the track. Rizaldi Adar has made a smooth move up to P7, surpassing Wacht. The two are now locked in a tight battle for the 7th spot. Meanwhile, I'm currently fighting it out with Neotexum for the 18th position. My Nissan 350Z is up against Neo Texan's Porsche 911 996 GT3. Syst 3M is on the move, narrowing in on Twix 560 by 2.1 seconds. Wagged is making moves up to P6, passing O'Craken. Speaking of O'Craken, they've now taken P7 from Rizaldi Adar. Okayaki 3 and Hugard 03 are neck and neck for the second position. Meyer is making moves, climbing up to 8th place after overtaking Rizaldi Adar. Bucci0 impressively climbs to P10, passing Rizaldi Adar. Martiv 2 and Dreadstream are locked in a tight battle for the 15th position. Martiv 2 is piloting a Porsche 911 996 GT3, while Dreadstream is behind the wheel of a Ford GT40 MKII. The competition is heating up as they maneuver through the track. Martiv 2 and Dreadstream continue their close battle for 15th place. Amy is gradually catching up to Cat_TV, reducing the gap by 4.4 seconds. Smurf 20 is on fire, closing the gap on Rizaldi Adar by 10.7. Meanwhile, Dreadstream has made a move up to P15, passing Martiv 2 in a smooth overtake. Dreadstream in the Ford GT40 MKII is fighting it out with Martiv 2 in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 for the 15th position. Newcombotham has surged to 20th place, successfully passing Mamar Oster in the Ferrari F40 with his Lotus E4RS. The battle for the 20th position continues between Newcombotham and Mamar Oster. Meyer is steadily gaining on O'Craken, now just 2.7 seconds behind. Mamar Oster has made progress, now in 20th place after passing Newcombotham. Corner Billy is also making moves, advancing to 29th place by overtaking Sir Ironbot from Team Death Robots. Meyer is gaining on O'Craken, reducing the gap by 2.5. Cat_TV is catching up to Martiv 2, narrowing the distance by 2.4. Okayaki 3 and Hugard 03 are engaged in a tight battle for the second position on the track. Hugard 03 has advanced to second place, surpassing Okayaki 3. Both Hugard 03 and Okayaki 3 are fiercely contesting the second spot. Sir Ironbot is steadily gaining on Corner Billy, reducing the difference by 2.8 seconds. Hugard 03 has successfully overtaken Okayaki 3 to secure second place. Twix 560 has now overtaken Okayaki 3, moving up a spot. Hugard 03 from Team Racing Potatoes overtakes Okayaki 3, moving up to second place. Hugard 03 and Okayaki 3 are going toe-to-toe for the second position. Okayaki 3 has made a strategic move and has taken over the second position from Hugard 03. Sist 3M has overtaken Twix 560 and moved up to 3rd place. Rizaldi Adar has climbed to 10th place after overtaking Bucciazero. The two drivers are engaged in a tight battle for the 10th spot, with Rizaldi Adar behind the wheel of a McLaren F1 GT and Bucciazero driving a rough RGT 8. Zygote 22 is hunting down Jasak 72, closing the gap by 551.8 units. Meyer is climbing up the ranks to P7, surpassing O'Cracken. The intense fight for P17 is on between Cat TV and Amy from Team Death Robots. Cat TV in a Chevrolet Corvette C6 GS and Amy from Team Death Robots in a Nissan 350Z are neck and neck. Rizaldi Adar advances to 9th position, passing O'Cracken. Smurf 20 climbs to 11th place, overtaking Bucciazero. Amy progresses to 17th place, overtaking Cat TV. Metz 32 is continuing to gain on Bucciazero, closing the gap further by 9.0 units. The pressure is on for both drivers. Meanwhile, Jasak 72 is also making moves, narrowing the distance to Newcombocken by 2.7 units. The race dynamics are heating up. Smurf 20 is making a strong move towards O'Cracken, reducing the gap by a hefty 49.5 units. Meanwhile, Wacht is steadily closing in on Sist 3M, narrowing the distance by 2.8 units. Let's see how these developments play out in the race. Bucciazero in the rough RGT 8 and Metz 32 in the Ford GT40 MKII are fiercely contesting the 12th position. Let's see who comes out on top in this intense duel. Simple Markers is catching up to Metz 32, decreasing the distance by 2.2. Super LaCroix just lost 2 places to Okayaki 3. Bucciazero and Metz 32 are closely fighting for the 12th position, with Bucciazero in a rough RGT 8 and Metz 32 in a Ford GT40 MKII. Amy is gaining on Martiv 2, reducing the gap by 2.5 seconds. Simple Markers has managed to close the gap to Metz 32 by 2.5 units. Newcombocken has made a move, gaining 1 position to secure the 6th place. Smurf 20 continues to gain on O'Cracken, reducing the gap by 29.0 seconds. The pressure is on as Smurf 20 closes in on O'Cracken. Bucci0 advances to 11th place, passing Metz 32. Metz 32 climbs to 12th place, overtaking Smurf 20. Amy and Cat TV are dueling for 17th place. Amy in a Nissan 350Z, Cat TV in a Chevrolet Corvette C6 GS. Simple Markers advances to 13th place, surpassing Smurf 20 on the track. Dreadstream is closing in on Smurf 20, reducing the gap by 43.6 seconds. Cat TV in the Chevrolet Corvette C6 GS is currently fighting Neo Texan from Team NAFH Gum Kings in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 for the 18th position. The tension is building as they maneuver around the track. Twix 560 is now just 5.1 seconds behind Super LaCroix of Team Death Robots. O'Kraken is also making gains, closing in on Rizaldi Adar by 5.5 seconds. Excitingly, Okayaki 3 has taken the lead, overtaking Super LaCroix for the top spot. Okayaki 3, it's getting intense out there. Lots of action happening on the track today. Keep cheering them on. Bucci0 is making a strong move towards O'Kraken, closing the gap by 546.7 units. Meanwhile, Dreadstream is gaining on Simple Markers, reducing the distance by 5.4. And Martiv 2 is also catching up to Smurf 20, shrinking the gap by 74.3. Bucci0 is closing in on O'Kraken, reducing the gap by 8.3 seconds. Zygote 22 is catching up to Newcombotham, closing the gap by 2.5 seconds. O'Kraken has made a swift move up to the 9th position, successfully overtaking Hugert 03 in this intense race. Cat TV in the Chevrolet Corvette C6 GS is neck and neck with Neo Texan in the Porsche 911 996 GT3 for 18th place. Meanwhile, Jasak 72 in the Suzette Marauder V16T is fighting Newcombotham in the Lotus Evora S for the 21st position. Exciting battles unfolding at the back of the pack. Bucci0 advances to 10th place, passing Metz 32. Metz 32 climbs to 11th place, overtaking Hugert 03. Neo Texan progresses to 18th place, surpassing Cat TV. Syst 3M now in P3 after overtaking Super LaCroix. Simple Markers closing in on Hugert 03, gap reduced by 2.1. Dreadstream narrowing the gap on Simple Markers by 2.0. White impressively secures the 4th position, surpassing Super LaCroix from Team Death Robots. The two are now fiercely contesting for the 4th spot. Metz 32 is steadily gaining on Bucci0, reducing the distance by 2.4. Metz 32 continues to gain on Bucci0, reducing the distance by 2.0 seconds. Neo Texan has made a significant move up to P17, successfully passing Amy in the process. Rizaldi Adar climbs to 7th place, passing Meyer. A tight race for 10th between Bucci0 in the Rough RGT 8 and Metz 32 in the Ford GT40 MKII. Martiv 2 advances to 15th, surpassing Hugert 03. Rizaldi Adar is making gains on Super LaCroix, reducing the gap by 5.5. Bucci is rapidly closing in on Meyer, minimizing the distance by 517.0. Twix 560 is catching up to Okayaki 3, cutting the gap by 2.9. Simple Markers is gaining on Metz 32, reducing the gap by 3.9 seconds. Amy has made a move up to P16, overtaking Neo Texan. Neo Texan has advanced to P17, passing Cat TV in the process. Bucci is on the move, closing in on Meyer by 62.8 units. Suzanne Greenberg is making a strong push towards Bobardo, reducing the gap by 396.5 units. A gripping battle for P6 between Super LaCroix in an Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Rizaldi Adar in a McLaren F1 GT is unfolding. O'Cracken is making a bold move, closing in on Syst 3M by 58.5 units. Metz 32 is climbing up the ranks, now in 10th place after overtaking Bucci. Dreadstream is closing in on Simple Markers, shrinking the gap by 5.1 units. Twix 560 from Team Bolt Bucket Motorsports now leads the pack after overtaking Okayaki 3 for first place. O'Cracken has made a significant move to P7 by passing Syst 3M. Meyer is making a strong move, gaining on Syst 3M by 9.1 units. Meanwhile, Simple Markers is narrowing the distance to Bucci by 2.2. Smurf 20 is making significant gains on Simple Markers, reducing the gap by 554.4 units. Meanwhile, Martiv 2 is swiftly catching up to Dreadstream, closing in by 44.8 units. Smurf 20 continues to chip away at Simple Markers' lead, now decreasing the gap by 554.4 units. Metz 32 is closing in on Meyer by 13.8 units. Amy is swiftly approaching Martiv 2, reducing the gap by 13.8. Newcomb is catching up to Mamar Oster, narrowing the distance by 8.3. O'Cracken is closing in on Wacht, reducing the gap by 53.7 units. Meyer is also gaining on Syst 3M, cutting the distance by 8.8. Smurf 20 isn't holding back either, closing in on Simple Markers by 8.3 units. Meyer is gaining on Syst 3M, reducing the gap by 10.2 units. Smurf 20 is catching up to Simple Markers, closing in by 7.9 units. Dreadstream is closing in on Smurf 20 from Team for 20, narrowing the gap by 8.4 units. One serious guy from Team No Name Racing is making a significant push, closing in on Jassac 72 by 548.4 units. Meanwhile, Meyer and Metz 32 are fiercely contesting the 9th position in their Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Ford GT40 MKI respectively. The pursuit continues as one serious guy narrows the distance to Jassac 72. Super LaCroix now in 4th position after a successful overtake on Rizaldi Adar. Dreadstream is closing in on Smurf 20, reducing the gap by 2.6. One serious guy from Team No Name Racing is narrowing the distance to Jassac 72 by 2.1. Super LaCroix and Rizaldi Adar are fighting for 4th place, with Super LaCroix in an Aston Martin Vantage 18 and Rizaldi Adar in a McLaren F1 GT. Meanwhile, White is inching closer to Isolde Adar, decreasing the gap by 2.4. Meyer is also on the move, closing in on Sist 3M by 2.0 seconds. Okayaki 3 is rapidly catching up to Twix 560, reducing the gap by 552.5 units. Suzanne Greenberg is swiftly closing in on Hugert 03, narrowing the distance by 10.3 units. Corner Billy is making gains on Babardo, shrinking the gap by 132.6 units. Isolde Adar now in 4th place after overtaking Super LaCroix. Simple Markers narrowing the gap to Bucha 0 by 2.6. Electric Mary closing in on Zygo 22 by 2.4. OK, Okayaki 3 from Team Racing Potatoes takes the lead from Twix 560. An intense battle between Mama Aster and Newcombakum for 19th place. Corner Billy climbs to 28th, passing Babardo. Okayaki 3 seems determined to catch up. Let's see if they can make a comeback in these final laps. Here we go, exciting finish ahead.